Hey book besties, I'm Haley.
And I'm McCayleigh. Welcome back to Two Chicks and a Plot Twist.
Season 2 is here and we're messier, moodier, and more obsessed with fictional men than ever.
Expect chaos and all the twists your TBR can handle.
Let's get plot twisty! Hi friends, before we dive into today's episode, we want to take a moment to acknowledge something important.
As a podcast, we believe in creating a welcoming and inclusive space for all readers. While this episode centers around Harry Potter, a series that means a lot to many people, we also recognize the harm caused by some of the personal views expressed by its author.
We want to be clear that our discussion is focused on the books themselves and the impact they've had on readers around the world. Our goal is to celebrate the story, the characters, and the community that grew from it, not to endorse or align with the author's views.
Thanks for being here with us. Now, let's get into the magic of the wizarding world.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Two Chicks and a Plot Twist. If you've been tuning in the last couple of weeks, you know we've been working our way through all the Harry Potter books, and today we've officially reached the grand finale.
That's right. We already covered books 1 through 6 in our last 2 episodes, and now it's time to talk Deathly Hallows, the epic conclusion to the series that defined an entire generation.
Yeah, so we've got Horcruxes, Hallows, epic battles, emotional deaths, and some seriously iconic moments to break down, and you know we've got some opinions.
There's a lot to unpack, so get cozy. This is Two Chicks and a Plot Twist, and today we solemnly swear we are up to no good.
Okay friends, let's get into Deathly Hallows summary. Here we have reached the final book in this series, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. And if you thought things were heavy before, just wait. This book is everything. It's war, loss, love, it's identity. And it really feels like the story is growing up with us.
The vibes are totally different. There's no Hogwarts for most of the book, and that alone tells you how serious things are now. So let's jump in because this is a big one.
So we open at Malfoy Manor. Voldemort is holding a meeting with his Death Eaters, and it's dark, like really dark. He's plotting Harry's capture. He takes Lucius Malfoy's wand and just casually murders Charity Burbage, which is the Muggle Studies professor, right there at the table, and it just sets the tone.
Meanwhile, over with the good guys, the Order of the Phoenix is planning to move Harry from Privet Drive to the Burrow before his 17th birthday, since that's when his protective enchantments break. And this turns into one of the most intense action scenes, the 7 Potters.
Yes, everyone drinks Polyjuice Potion to act as Harry decoys. It's Ron, Hermione, Fleur, Fred, George, Kingsley, and even Mundungus. They all fly in pairs, and of course the Death Eaters ambush them mid-flight. It's awful. Hedwig dies, Hagrid crashes, George ends up losing his ear, and Mad-Eye Moody is killed.
And from there, it just doesn't let up. They barely make it to the Burrow, and it's supposed to be a safe space. But then we get Bill and Fleur's wedding, and it's like, yay, romance, yay, magic, and then boom. Kingsley's Patronus crashes the party and says the Ministry has fallen. Scrimgeour is dead. They're coming.
That scene just gave me chills. Everything falls apart in like 2 seconds. Harry, Ron, Hermione disapparate straight to London. They hide out in a cafe and are attacked by Death Eaters almost immediately. From that moment on, it's the 3 of them, totally on their own, trying to piece together what they're supposed to do. No Dumbledore and no Hogwarts.
And speaking of Dumbledore, this is where that mysterious will comes in. He left them all items that don't make sense at first. Ron gets the Deluminator, Hermione gets the Tales of Beetle the Bard, and Harry gets the snitch he caught in his first game. And he was supposed to get the Sword of Gryffindor, but the Ministry kept it.
That snitch ends up being super important, but we'll get there. So they go to 12 Grimwald Place to regroup, and they start figuring out what they need to find and destroy Voldemort's Horcruxes. They also discover that Dolores Umbridge has won the locket, and she's wearing it around her neck like some twisted fashion statement while working at the Ministry.
So, naturally, they break into the Ministry. It's total chaos, but they manage to get the locket. Problem is, they can't destroy it, and the thing messes with their heads the longer they wear it. Ron especially struggles. He ends up leaving after a huge fight with Harry, and I'll be honest, that breakup hurt.
I know you don't like Ron.
I don't.
I remember being so mad at Ron when I first read that, but eventually he does redeem himself. Hermione and Harry go back to Godric's Hollow, hoping to find clues. They visit Harry's parents' grave, which is so emotional, and then they meet Bathilda Bagshot, who turns out to be Nagini in disguise. Voldemort nearly catches them. It's terrifying.
Also, Harry's wand breaks during that escape, and he's devastated. He doesn't even really care about his own life at that point. He just mourns that wand. But not long after, Ron returns! The Deluminator guides him back, and he saves Harry from drowning when they find the Sword of Gryffindor.
And that scene when Harry opens the locket and Ron destroys it is so intense. The locket literally taunts Ron with his worst fears. Harry and Hermione together, his own insecurities, but he powers through and destroys it. I love a redemptive moment.
Then Hermione figures out the symbol that they've been seeing. The triangle with the circle and the line is the Deathly Hallows. She reads the tales of Beetle the Bard, and we get that little story of the three brothers. So, basically, the Hallows are the Elder Wand, the Resurrection Stone, and the Invisibility Cloak.
And Harry realizes he already has the cloak, the snitch holds the stone, and Voldemort is after the wand. In fact, Voldemort is hunting down Gregorovitch, a wand maker, and eventually kills Grindelwald to take the Elder Wand from Dumbledore's tomb. So yeah, it's not great.
Then we get to the Malfoy Manor scene. Oof, the trio is captured and taken there. Bellatrix tortures Hermione. They lock Harry and Ron in the cellar, and they're saved by Dobby. But not before he's struck by Bellatrix's knife, and that death hurt. That one, yeah, totally broke us.
Absolutely wrecked me. Dobby dies a free elf, and Harry insists on burying him without magic. It's so tender. So after that, they go to Shell Cottage and start planning to break into Gringotts, because one of the Horcruxes, Hufflepuff's cup, is in Bellatrix's vault.
And, with help from Griphook the Goblin, they manage to get inside. Barely. There's a dragon guarding the vault. The treasure duplicates and burns when they touch it, but they escape the dragon. I mean, iconic. Straight up cinematic.
At that point, they know the last Horcruxes must be in Hogwarts, and possibly something of Ravenclaw's, so they head back. When they get there, it's like a whole underground rebellion. Neville, Ginny, Luna, they've been fighting back while Snape's been headmaster. The Room of Requirement becomes their hideout.
Then we get the final battle. The Battle of Hogwarts. I'm not kidding when I say I cried through half of this. Fred dies, Tonks and Lupin die, it's brutal and non-stop, but between all of that, Harry sees into Voldemort's mind and realizes there's one more Horcrux, Nagini. But also, there's himself.
That twist that Harry is the final Horcrux, absolutely unhinged, and he doesn't hesitate. He walks into the forest ready to die. On the way, he opens the snitch, and inside is the Resurrection Stone. He sees his parents, Sirius and Lupin, and they walk with him.
And then Voldemort kills him. Or so we think. Harry ends up in this dreamlike King's Cross with Dumbledore, where we finally learn so much about Snape, about Dumbledore's past, the Elder Wand, everything.
And then, plot twist, Harry is not dead. He goes back to the fight, fakes death long enough to disarm Voldemort, and then the showdown finally begins. Harry reveals everything, how Snape was loyal, how the wand actually doesn't belong to Voldemort, how love is stronger, and then the spell backfires. Voldemort is dead.
It's over. The war is over. And we get that 19 years later epilogue where Harry, Ginny, Ron, and Hermione are sending their own kids off to Hogwarts. Albus Severus Potter is nervous, and Harry reassures him with that line we all remember. You were named after 2 headmasters of Hogwarts.
What a ride. This book gave us so much pain, hope, love, sacrifice, and so much loss, but it was a powerful end to the series. Definitely one that will stay with you long after.
100%. And if you're still with us, thank you, because that was a lot. But Deathly Hallows deserved every second of that breakdown.
Wow, that was so long. So much happens in Deathly Hallows, and that barely scratches the surface because there's so much more to this last book. Yeah. But let's go ahead and jump into questions that we have to kind of talk about. So, first one is, how did being on the run change the tone of the book? Did you miss the school setting?
Well, I miss the school setting, but without it, we now see them as more adults, and it really, I think, raised the stakes. But yeah, there's no teachers now to take care of you, and there's no one looking out for you. These kids are actually out on their own, camping in their own little tent and putting up these little protective force fields, so no one can find them. Yeah, I think not being in Hogwarts definitely made it a lot scarier. We're on. Yeah. This is almost like a thriller movie now. We're not on book 1 anymore. They're not.
Yeah.
cute little kids running around in their cloaks. What about you?
It's so sad. I mean, the exact same thing. Yeah. I think that without them being at Hogwarts, you really feel how serious the tone of this book is and how serious the Wizarding World has gotten. It just felt so different without Hogwarts. You know, I obviously missed the teachers and the magic, the castle, everything, but I liked them being out on their own and, like you said, being adults and having to do their own things, like them coming together to create these protective spells over their camps.
And Hermione's sacrifices, they go unnoticed a lot of the time because there's just so much happening in the books and the movies. But what did you think about her decision at the very start to obliviate her parents' memories?
This moment is one of the most selfless things that anyone does in the entire book series, and it doesn't get talked about enough. Hermione literally gives up everything, even her parents, to fight alongside Harry and to fight for the cause in this Wizarding World to try to protect everyone. She just erased herself from her parents' lives just to keep them safe, and it is so heartbreaking. So sad.
Yeah, and guys, I didn't get to finish reading this book before recording, so this was my first experience ever seeing Deathly Hallows, for the first time ever learning about the plot, any of it. And I'm watching it with my husband, Christian, and we are 30 seconds into the movie. I'm like making my popcorn, I'm in the kitchen, the movie's on, and then Christian's on the couch watching. He goes, "Why'd you just erase their memories? Her parents' memories?" And I pause the popcorn, whatever. I'm like, "Wait, pause it. You gotta restart." We restarted the movie about like 3 or 4 times because like there was just too much happening. You have to be on the couch and watching to figure out what's all it was crazy. There was a lot to unpack in those movies, part 1 and part 2. But yeah, I think that moment was so sad, and I really felt for her in that moment, but I know she did it to protect them and herself, and that was such a hard choice to make. I can't imagine having to make that choice, just sitting there and being 17 and deciding, hey, I'm gonna make it as if I never existed to you guys.
Yeah.
It's
sad, and it's also sad because some people would say, you know, she can go back and reverse it, or there's some type of spell, but there really isn't some type of spell or some type of cure-all that can cure someone that when they have their memories erased. And we see that with the professor in Chamber of Secrets, Professor Lockhart. Yeah. He gets his memories obliviated, then he ends up in St. Mungo's hospital, and Harry, Ron, and Hermione run into him there, and he still doesn't know anything. So I think that just being that age and knowing, you know, we saved everything, the Wizarding World's okay, but I can't go back home. I can't go back to my parents, because now they're in Australia, actually. I know you haven't read it, but they're in Australia. They're doing their own thing down there, and they don't even know they have a daughter. It's so sad.
Wow, yeah, they didn't show that in the movie. I think
know.
So.
Well, here's something else they didn't show in the movies. I don't know how much you can touch on this, but Dumbledore's backstory, you know, what were your thoughts on it? It was kind of revealed more after he died. Did it change the way that you viewed him, and was Harry right to feel betrayed by him?
Yeah, so I explicitly wrote in my notes that I did not read the book, but watched the movies, and the movie, it slightly touched on this. And the only reason I feel like I kind of saw this coming and had a heads up was because just this past week we had a conversation with the other podcast, Page to Picture, and they were really hinting at, ooh, Dumbledore, Dumbledore. I'm like, what did he do? So, that's the reason I know there's more backstory to this, because in the movie, they kind of mention that Dumbledore's brother hates him, and Dumbledore is the reason his sister died.
Yeah.
But that's really all I know. We just know everyone's mad at each other. We didn't go into super crazy details.
Yeah.
So it made me sad, though. I wish I knew more, and when I do read the book, I'll be able to be like, oh, gosh.
This is why. Yeah. Do you want me to touch on it a little? I can. I won't say everything, but if you want some.
Yes, please do.
So, Dumbledore, Albus, his brother, and his sister Ariana, they're all together. I think that at the time, his mom and dad have both died. So, really, it's Albus and his brother who are raising their sister Ariana. And Ariana was born a squib, which basically is a
wizard with no magic?
Wizard with no magic. And she also has something else I can't remember, but she really can't be on her own. And so Dumbledore, and we talked about this guy's name in the summary, Grindelwald, when they were young adults, they were really good best friends. And they got into a really big fight, Dumbledore and Grindelwald, and spells got cast. They don't really know whose spells hit Ariana, but a spell hit her and she died. And so that's why Albus's brother, who you met there in Hogsmeade, is like this. He's the reason why she died, because after that, Dumbledore and Grindelwald, they kind of just went their separate ways, and his brother really never saw Albus again, and it's really sad.
Wow.
But there's also a lot more to it. But we also touched base on this in our next episode. It's not out yet. But a week after this episode comes out, you'll hear more about it. But the girls there, they kind of had some very strong opinions about Dumbledore, and I see how they thought that. And this is kind of what I think. I think that realizing and reading Dumbledore's past and everything that happened to him when he was a young adult just made me realize how lonely he must have been. He doesn't have a close family. He is carrying this just so much regret in his heart, and he's having to make these huge isolating decisions all on his own with really nobody to confide in. It's like he's carrying the weight of the Wizarding World on his shoulders, and I think that added a lot of depth and sadness to his character. I think that knowing this past from him makes him feel even more human, because when we read and see Dumbledore, we think, oh, he's this all-being guy, he can't die, he dies, and you're like, oh, he is actually human. And then you read his past and you're like, oh yeah, like he has made a bunch of pretty bad decisions and this is who he is today. But yeah, it makes him feel more human. And I totally get why Harry felt betrayed. Finding out that someone you really looked up to had just a complicated past can be really hard. And you see in the movie, it's Snape and Dumbledore, they're together in a memory. And Snape is telling Dumbledore, you've basically raised Harry for slaughter. You know he has to die. And Dumbledore's thought process is, it's for the greater good of the whole Wizarding World. I'm not just thinking about one person. I'm thinking about thousands of people, everybody. And so it's hard to say. I think that Dumbledore is definitely a great character. I don't think he's 100% good, and I don't think that he's 100% bad. He's kind of in that area where I'm not really sure, because he does good things and he also does sort of things. So it's hard to say.
Yeah, I agree. It's not black and white, because, how do you choose between saving one person from being hit by a train or 10 people being hit by a train? It's tough. But when I do think of Deathly Hallows now, that is the moment I remember. I'm like, oh, Dumbledore and Snape on the cliffside. Snape is yelling at Dumbledore, you're raising him like he's a pig ready for slaughter. Like, oh, God, my heart. Man.
It just hurts so much, because in that moment, Snape is thinking about Lily, which was his best friend and his first love there in Hogwarts. Aww. And it's just so sad, because he saw so much of Lily in Harry, and he wanted, I guess, Harry to... I don't really know where I'm going with this thought, but... Sometimes I just start a sentence and I don't know where it's going.
I feel like Snape definitely had complicated feelings about Harry, because he was part of someone he loved and part of someone he really did not get along with or like.
Yeah.
So he kind of floated in limbo, his feelings for Harry. So it was really complicated, but he wanted him to be saved, because Lily, would you have trusted Xenophilius Lovegood if you were in their position, in the trio's position?
This is so hard, because I personally think that I would have trusted him. I think that Harry, Ron, and Hermione saw him as an adult and as an ally, especially him being Luna's dad. So it made sense for them to go to him for advice and for help. I don't think that they expected him to be in such a desperate spot, and I probably wouldn't have thought that either. And I think that honestly, if I was in his position, I would probably do the exact same thing. He was desperate and he just wanted his daughter back. He knew that Luna was in the hands of Death Eaters and he was just so afraid for her and he wanted her back. And I can't blame him for doing that to Harry, Ron, and Hermione, because I probably would have done the same thing.
Yeah, I also would have done the same, trusted him, especially knowing his daughter, Luna, was so amazing to them also. Despite her being bullied and all this, which the movies did not get into, by the way. Her backstory, family stuff. Not as much as I wanted.
Yeah, her mom dies in this really horrible accident. Her mom was really into potions, and so her mom was always wanting to learn more, and one day she did a potion and it went bad and she died in front of Luna. And that's why Luna can see those creatures. Oh my god, what are their names?
Nargles.
No, The
She keeps saying that.
the things that they fly on in Order of the Phoenix. Only people
Oh, the
who have
horses.
seen people die. Yes, I can't remember their
The
name. Oh my
ugly,
god.
scary horses. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing.
That's why she
Nargles.
can see them. Is because only someone who has seen death in person can see these animals, and she can because she watched her mom die in front of her whenever she was really young. So it's
Yeah.
really sad. Luna has a really sad backstory. I really feel bad for her.
Man. Oh, but
Oh, Luna.
yeah. But Xenophilius, he was so nice at the wedding when he met Harry for the first time too.
Mm-hmm.
The vibes were all good. There was no
Yeah.
reason not to trust him. So these kids going and being like, "Hey, we need your help." What reason did they have not to trust him? But then, yeah, the
Right.
whole. I understand. I understand why he gave them up because what parent would? You'd be a bad parent if you
Right.
didn't do that. I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that should be your number one priority also. Because she's still also a kid. She's not even an adult yet. She's still going to school and everything.
Which character had the most powerful redemption arc? Snape is the obvious one, but what about others like Creature or Draco? What do you think?
Well, in the movie, Draco chose to do a whole lot of nothing, which really benefited the trio. Like, he was asked to identify Harry when he came in with a swollen
Yeah.
face, and Bellatrix is like, "Tell him we must be correct if we want to call the Dark Lord or whatever, or he'll kill
Right.
us," because he's angry. So Draco just kind of never gave her an answer. It was like, no, I don't think it's him. He helped by not doing anything, and then at the end of Half-Blood Prince, too, he didn't kill Dumbledore, so it's him not doing things is what's benefiting the trio. Like, he's there, and the opportunity to be bad is there, and he just stands there. It's easy to say he was forced to do the things he didn't want to do out of fear, and then the last time we saw him, at least in the movies, he was walking off with his family. His mom called him over, and he, like, all hesitantly came over, because Voldemort thought he won. He was like, "Join the dark side," or whatever. And then the very, very last time we see him, he's taking his kid to Hogwarts.
Yeah,
I'm
to
like,
Hogwarts.
oh, everyone's grown up, which I have lots of
I
words
know.
about the epilogue. But we'll get to that. But
Oh,
what about
epilogue.
you? What about you?
So this isn't talked about in the movies, but you'll get to hear more about it when you read it. But Percy, in my opinion, has a super powerful redemption arc, and the movies don't talk about it. Like I said, Percy is kind of like a butthole. He's stuck up the Ministry's butt the whole last couple of books in the series because he's cutting himself off from his family. He hates that the way that his dad Arthur is perceived at the Ministry where he works, and he wants to kind of create this new persona that he's not this poor Weasley. He's making something of himself. So he's really distant. He's such a jerk for quite a while, but at the end of the book series, he comes back and he's standing there with his family and he helps fight in the Battle of Hogwarts. And we get to see more of it in the books, but you see a bit in the books, like in Order of the Phoenix at the end when Dumbledore is there with Harry. We see Percy with the Minister of Magic, and that's basically all we see of Percy again from the series, at least in the movies. But I wish they would have touched on that in the movies. But Percy, and speaking of Percy, I don't know if y'all should go back if you like Harry Potter. Go back to my birthday episode a couple months ago. McCayleigh got me a little cameo from the actor Percy, and it was so cool. And he talked to us, and he called me and McCayleigh like Scottish. What did he call us?
Spy
Like,
names. Our names are
spy
Haley and
names.
McCayleigh, Scottish spy names or something. It's like a spy name for one another. But yeah, that was funny.
so
That was
fun.
Chris Rankin. Follow him on
Yes.
Instagram. He just came back to Cameo. I think he took a hiatus and then he came back. I just got the notification on
Came
my
back.
phone. But
He said, "Do you want to buy another one?"
yeah, exactly. He's like, "I'm back." And then let's talk about the Battle of Hogwarts. What moment stood out most to you emotionally?
Oh my gosh. There are so many really good moments, so it's
Yeah.
really hard to kind of break down just one. But when Harry comes back into the Great Hall and he sees all his classmates, he sees his friends, he sees people that he considers family injured, and some are even dead, it really stuck with me. It's so heartbreaking because it just shows how much everyone has sacrificed, how much people are willing to sacrifice, and what the real cost of battle is. It's not just about magic or winning, it's about loss, pain, and the strength it takes to keep going. That scene really made me feel the weight of everything that Harry's been through. What about you?
Yeah. Well, in the movie, one of the specific scenes that I can recall during this battle is Neville on the bridge with the sword of Gryffindor, and all the Death Eaters start chasing him, and then the bridge catches fire, and it collapses, and he climbs to the top, and he just like...
Yes, Neville.
So good. And then he kills Nagini. Oh my god. That was, like, he finally got his heroic moment after all this time. And it happened to be the very last movie. He's not some wimp anymore. And then I also really liked how Molly in the movie, I'm assuming it's the same in the book. Molly kills Bellatrix. She makes her disintegrate. So, Ron's mother. And I mean, this is after Fred has been offed.
Died. Yeah.
He's been
sad.
Dead. Which I also wish the movie would have touched on that more, because it was a very fleeting moment. You just see one of the twins, and the whole time I'm like, which twin? And they might have said his name once, but I couldn't remember. Yeah. There's too much happening. And then they kind of like, all gather. But then the rest of the movie, I don't even think they mentioned him dying again. I'm just like, okay.
Sad.
I guess there's 4 more. You got a whole load of siblings. So
that's sad.
And there was this funny moment. I think it was when Harry arrived and sees all of his classmates. Jenny sees Ron and Hermione and Harry, and she runs and hugs Harry, and Ron is standing right there. He's like, my sister, I haven't seen you in 6 months, and I'm not even being acknowledged. And then one of the classmates is like, well, she has like 4 brothers. She only has 1 Harry. Like, yeah. And then I have like little tidbits of this scene that's like stuck in my head. This was before the battle still, but I really liked how Professor McGonagall stood up to Snape when Harry arrived. Yeah. I was like, man, I wish you had gotten more screen time, Professor McGonagall, because in the books, she is so there all the time. Like, Harry's always going to her, some student is always going to her, and she always has something to say about anything, but she's just kind of in the background in every single movie here, until these important moments, and then boom, there she is. But then Snape makes his grand exit through the glass, which is, whoa, very crazy.
That part in the movie is so powerful, because she's like, you're not gonna fight this student, this 17-year-old kid, fight me instead. And you have to think, this is Snape's coworker who he's worked with for years, and this was also his professor when he was a student at Hogwarts, and it's just crazy to think that they're fighting one another. It's just so sad. Oh my gosh. This whole book was sad. Oh my goodness. There was except the epilogue, there was never a part where I was like, oh, this is so happy. The whole thing's so sad. I was about to say, let's talk about something even sadder.
Oh yeah. Well, how do you feel about Harry's decision to sacrifice himself? Did you fully believe he would die? How did that moment hit you?
I have so much to say about this. This is the moment in the whole book series that will always stay with me, and it's when Harry is going into the Forbidden Forest to face Voldemort. Just knowing that he's going to die, it's such an emotional turning point. Hermione knows what he's doing. Hermione's known for a while that he's a Horcrux, and you can feel in the books, and you can also see in the movies, just how much she wants to stop him, or in the movie she literally says, I'll go with you, let me go with you, just knowing that if she goes with him, she's going to die. But she doesn't. She lets him go, and that's just such a quiet moment that wrecks me. It's so full of love, sacrifice, and unspoken understanding. But something that also hits me is, and this hits me the hardest every time, oh my gosh, I want to cry just thinking about it when I watch it, is Hagrid's in the forest too. He's being held by Death Eaters. He's been captured, and he is forced to sit there and watch Voldemort kill him. Hagrid was the very first person who really ever cared for Harry. He brought Harry into the Wizarding World. He brought Harry to his aunt and uncle's house, literally picked him up, took him to the Dursleys, and then picked him up to take him to the Wizarding World. And he's there at the end, watching it all fall apart. And then he has to carry Harry's body back to the castle. That full circle moment just breaks me. Hagrid was there at the beginning, he's there at the end, and I think that there's something just so poetic and also heartbreaking about that. It's something I'll never forget. So if you guys watch our next episode, we got to a point where the question was, what moment sticks out to you the most? And at the time of recording the episode, McCayleigh had not watched Deathly Hallows, and so I had to keep this to myself. So I was like, oh, I can finally talk about it in this episode, because it's just so good. It just gives me chills thinking about it.
Oh, yeah. That was very brave of Harry to do. I can't say I have as a long-winded of a moment that you shared, but I mean,
Right.
it was that was the whole scene, Haley. It was that, everything you
Thank you.
described. I really questioned whether he would die or not, but I think if he was going to be permanently dead, I think I would have heard about it in the media by now, because it's been a couple years, right?
Right.
Overall, I think it was really clever on his part to pretend to be dead when he came back. Also, it was the reason they were able to get back in, or he was, and Hagrid too. Everyone was like back at Hogwarts, kind of safe until after all the fighting. But it worked.
Whenever this movie came out, the part 2 at the Deathly Hallows, I went and watched it at the movies with my dad, and it flashes white after Harry dies, and it goes to that scene of Harry in the train station with Dumbledore. I cried at the movies because I think at the time I hadn't finished the book, and I was like, oh my gosh, Harry dies, like telling my dad, why didn't you tell me that Harry dies? You've put me through this for years. I don't think I'd finished the book at the time. I was so little, probably 13-year-old me was so stressed out.
That's so sad.
I
Man,
know.
but no, when we were watching this movie, though, I was like, this would have been so amazing in movie theaters. It
really good.
Especially the dragon and then breaking out of Gringotts.
Oh, yeah.
We went to the Wizarding World in London, and there was you go through this whole exhibit, like a museum, Harry Potter museum, and there's this room that you walk into in the Gringotts Bank. You're like in the fresh, pretty Gringotts Bank, and then you walk through these doors. It takes you to the same Gringotts Bank, except you stand, and then you see rumbling, and then this giant dragon, and you're in there with it. This giant dragon breaks in, destroys the whole bank while you're in it, and everyone's like, oh my god, you get scared. It's a little jump scare at first. Made it out alive, but it was crazy.
They're doing, I don't know if it's all movie theaters, at least the one by us here in Amarillo, they're doing all the movies at like one of the movie theaters here. So I don't know if they're doing it at College Station, but all of them are here.
What? Wait, what time? Like during a certain month, or?
I think it's next month. I think it's in September. I think it's every September, because I went last September to the one here too, and I watched all of them here.
Like a whole marathon, or you
it's
just?
Like, it's every like a day of the week. They pick a day of the week, and so you go every like Thursday.
Wow.
And you watch one movie, you come back next Thursday, you watch another.
The Deathly Hallows Part 2 is the movie to see in
theaters. It's so
good. It's like the equivalent of...
Goblet of Fire is also good to see in the movies.
Oh, yeah.
They're all good to see in the movies, but Deathly Hallows is really cool.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. What was the most emotionally devastating death in the book for you, and why?
Mine is Dobby's. Mine will always be Dobby's. His death hit me so hard because he is just that loyal and brave friend. He sacrificed everything to be there with Harry. He loves Harry so much. And that moment, whenever Bellatrix throws her knife into them while they're disapparating, it just breaks me every time because I'm like, oh, Dobby's about to die. Let me like brace myself when I watch this. And Harry's like looking around for all his friends. Then he sees Dobby like hunched over. It's just so sad. This part really just shows even how the smallest characters can have the biggest impact, because Dobby has been there with Harry for so much, and he helped save them at the Malfoy Manor. And just for him to die is just so sad.
Yeah.
And so many characters died in Deathly Hallows, so it's so hard to pick just one. But who did you pick?
Well, before I tell you mine, I will say that Dobby moment was spoiled for me because I saw that in the museum. Harry Potter holding Dobby, who is clearly dead. And I was like, well, great. I told Christian, I was like, man. But in that moment when Bellatrix threw her knife into them, I told Christian, I was like, oh my god, I forgot that I had this spoiled. Christian was like, yeah, I was wondering when you were gonna say something. I was like, well, I know her knife is about to enter them and it's gonna hit Dobby. Like, I knew.
Yeah.
But
so going back to that, I like totally forgot I wanted to ask you about it earlier, but when they're at the Malfoy Manor and you're listening to Hermione scream because Bellatrix is carving into her arm, I always skip that scene because it gives me so much chills, and I cannot watch like Hermione on the ground, like, crying and screaming. It scares me so much. Bellatrix is so scary.
Yeah, and I don't know why I was thinking really deeply into this, but Ron and Harry, all they could do, I guess, is just sit in the dungeon and just listen. But they weren't freaking out enough.
In the books, so much happens. In the books, it's Harry, Ron, and also Peter Pettigrew's in the dungeon as well. I think he may make an appearance in the movie, like, at the end.
He just, like, opens the door and closes it.
But he's down there with them, and they're trying everything they can do to get up there with Hermione. So much more happens in the books.
Yeah, in the movie, they were not trying to get out. Yeah. Like, they just
Ron
stood
goes
there.
Crazy in the books. Oh my gosh, poor Ron.
Yeah, but the whole time I was watching and thinking, I was like, man, if you were up there watching it happen, I'm sure you'd be screaming and freaking out. But put them a story below, downstairs, and they hear everything. They're not doing it. I'm like, come on. But
yeah.
Anyways, I went off on a little limb there. But emotionally devastating death, I want to say Snape. And I knew, because we had our conversation with the other podcast, that Snape made this huge redemption and everything. And I mean, I knew people liked Snape, so I knew there was always some reason they had to like Snape. I mean, he's not obviously just straight up bad.
Yeah.
But when he was getting killed, Nagini in the movie is going for his neck like 8 times, you know, both sides of the neck.
Yeah.
Harry is on the other side of the glass in this greenhouse area. And you just see the blood spatter. Like, what a horrible way to die. And he is not instantly dead either. So Harry goes and talks to him, and that's when he gets the tear and finds out.
And he's
Snape's
like, I've never
backstory.
told you this, but you have your mother's eyes. That's so sad.
That was really, really so devastating, to say the least. And then I was going to say Fred's death was so quick. We already touched on that too.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I wish that had been more devastating, but it wasn't. Yeah. So, I don't know. But what's your...
I thought it was still sad.
Yeah.
But in the movies, it's glossed over because you see Fred on the ground. Obviously, he's dead, and you see his family over him. But you don't really get much more because it goes back to Harry in that moment. Harry's leaving. Fred, in his mind, I think Fred and George and everyone, they're older brothers to him. I think in that moment when he saw Fred, he was like, I've got to go. Sacrifice himself before George dies or before Ron dies or whatever. So I wish we got more of Fred. Oh, Fred.
Man.
And it's so sad because the Weasley twins, George has his ear blown off at the start of the movie, and so he's missing a whole ear, and then Fred dies. So it's like, they both had something. Yeah. It's just so sad.
One was a little worse than the other, but...
Yeah.
Oh, still sad. Oh, the twins cannot catch a break. Now we're moving on to a little happier times.
Yes,
right?
yes.
What's your opinion on the epilogue?
Really enjoy the epilogue. This is like controversial because I think some people out there hate that it's in the books, but I like it because it's full circle. It ties everything up in a nice bow. You get to see them with their kids. They're all grown up. They're old. They have kids now, and they're sending them off to Hogwarts. It just gives you closure after everything, after like the goriness after the Battle of Hogwarts. We have this nice moment where you see everyone together, and it's so good. And you don't know it because you haven't read it. Well, maybe you've seen it in the last book, but yeah, I think you have. I have to think. Tonks and Lupin, you know they're together, right?
Yeah, they were married.
You know they have a kid, right?
I did not.
Bro, I'll be quiet.
Oh, okay. Well,
he's not in the movie, but this kid is like in the last book, and I need you to read it because
interesting.
I just wish they included this in the movies. They skip so much on the movies.
We'll come back around. We'll like do a little segment, very short segment on that recap. Okay. Now, guys, epilogue. Y'all, I hate Ron. Still, it could be like 40 more years.
Hate Ron?
It's 19 years later. Dude, look at him in the movie. Okay, I haven't read the book, but in the movie, come on, Hermione is stunning.
In the movie, he has like a beer belly and he's like bald.
Why would they do that? No. God, but Hermione is so beautiful and it just hurts. Like,
yeah.
Because he's not, like, it's not just his looks, guys. It's just how I did not like him as a friend when he was younger.
After watching Deathly Hallows, you still don't like Ron. Oh my gosh.
I mean...
My poor little Ron. Oh.
He's gonna be the first. Like, I'm not saying I hate you. Yeah, I am. I don't know. If push comes to shove, Ron will be the first on the chopping block. So it's not like I'm totally killing him off here, but given the opportunity, maybe.
Oh no.
Oh god. And this is coming from someone who only watched this movie and has yet to read the book. But when Harry was like, Albus Severus Potter, me and Christian made this face. We just looked at each other, but we just could not keep a straight face. It did not land for us at all. We were just like, wow, that is the definition of trying too hard. And I mean, trying too hard to be impactful. Okay, now you're doing too much. You did not have to go that far.
Yeah.
I did like that you were like, his reasons for the names. You're named after 2 headmasters, but come on, Albus Severus. I did not like that.
I don't like it either, because it's also, you have to imagine being with this guy and he wants to name your son after 2 people for him, but no one for you, because Ginny's lost her brother, and I think she probably would have loved to have Fred somewhere, but she doesn't get anything. Harry gets Albus Severus, and it's like, really?
Yeah.
Come on, you're not gonna give Ginny anything?
I know.
I didn't like that either.
And these guys also, of course, Harry's not thinking this far into it, but these guys have not been the entirely best person to you either after all of that had happened. I mean, they may have impacted you greatly, yes, but I mean, Dumbledore did not always have you in your best interest.
Yeah.
Severus definitely did not always have you in his, well, I guess he did, but he was not very nice about it. So
they're both gray characters, so it's like you named your son after 2 gray characters.
Yeah, I think you could have come up with an original name and definitely put Fred or something, someone related in there. Yeah. I don't know, but that was a little too much for me, and I can't think of his name without a straight face.
And it's like, you see more of him in Cursed Child, which is the play production after all this when they go off to Hogwarts. So I have not read Cursed Child since it came out so many years ago. I went to the midnight release with my dad, and I got it there, and I stayed up all night reading it on the couch, and I've not read it since. And I was probably 13 or 14 at the time. So it's been like 10 years. I need to reread it because so much happens. And so when you read it, I'll read it with you.
Yes, yeah. I'm working my way. God. Well, was there anything else that you wish the book series had?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, that's all.
I wish that in the moment when Harry's going to the Forbidden Forest to die, I think that it would have been really interesting to hear from different point of views, because throughout the story, we really only have Harry's point of view. We do get point of views from Minister of Magic, whenever he goes and talks to like Muggle Prime Minister. But other than that, it's primarily Harry. I think that would have been cool to see what Hagrid thought when he saw Harry come down, because in the movies, we see Hagrid go, "No, Harry, no, like, go back, you shouldn't be here." It would have been cool to see what Hagrid actually his inner thoughts were at that time. Mm-hmm. Also Hermione, when she was telling Harry, "I'll go with you, let me go with you, I'll die with you," that would have been so heartbreaking to see. Neville, because I love my little baby Neville, he does so much in the Battle of Hogwarts with killing a Horcrux. That is crazy. It would have been interesting to see what Neville thought about that. Ron and Ginny also. Ginny is in love with Harry. Harry is her love, and seeing your love being dead and carried in Hagrid's arms, it would have been interesting to see what she thought about that. So I just wish that we had different point of views, but I mean, other than that, I liked pretty much everything. I thought it was good.
Before I have my part to say, in the movie, I noticed that Draco always has Crabbe and Goyle. I believe it's the Crabbe character.
That's right.
I googled it. I was like, who is this kid that is following Draco around? He is not part of
Blaise.
this. Yeah, Blaise. They replaced his character because the original actor got arrested for drug use. Like, he was growing weed or cannabis, in his home, and got arrested for using it, and then they just cut off all ties to him.
It's crazy also because it's like you couldn't just keep him for one more movie.
Just
Instead,
one
we get
more
this
scene, really.
We
That's
get
all
this
he needs.
kid who we haven't seen at all in any of the books, not even in the background.
Yeah.
And you're like, who is this random kid?
I
Like no one knows him.
I know.
So
And and all of a sudden, I guess the only scene it was them chasing Harry for the tiara. What was it?
tiara, yeah,
There's another word for it, but yeah.
Diadem.
Yes.
Yes.
The Ravenclaw diadem, but that was crazy. But yeah,
Yeah.
I can't say much here just because I haven't finished the book yet, but what I wish the movie had more of was Dumbledore's backstory, but we already touched on that. I do feel like the producers, they did the movie in a way that they were like, well, we don't want the audience to hate Dumbledore too much. Like, we still want his death to be sad and not something to cheer for. So I feel like producers might have done that on purpose. Of course, I don't know, but that's the vibe I was getting because we really didn't know all that much. We just knew he had family troubles.
And so you get to learn after you're done with everything, then you get into the Fantastic Beasts movies because you get to see Albus there and you get to see his past more and you get to see him with Grindelwald more. And so after you're done with everything, then you get to watch all the Fantastic Beasts movies. And I think there's 3 out right now and I think there's another one coming sometime soon. So you get to see more there. At least they put Dumbledore there, but
no, that's exciting. Oh, and then one more thing. The Elder Wand. Harry, at the end of the movie, Harry breaks it and throws it off the bridge. Like, you're too good for the Elder Wand. Yeah. It's too powerful. No one needs this kind of power. Like, come on, grab it and cure cancer or something with it. You've already proved yourself. Everyone knows you're not going to go and destroy the world and turn into Voldemort. I mean,
I think that he is, like, afraid of the greed of what other people would do because it's like in the Three Brothers stories everyone knew that this guy had the Elder Wand and so people would go and kill the guy and kill this other guy and kill him to get the wand. And so I think Harry was just afraid that there's someone out there who would want this and so let me break it. And in the movies it's funny because Ron's like, what are we gonna do with it? And Hermione's like, we? Not we, this is Harry's.
Yeah I did
and also it's like you have to remember the Resurrection Stone is also somewhere in the Forbidden Forest, so that part of the Deathly Hallows is still there. The Invisibility Cloak is still there, so I wish that we had more books. Oh my gosh, so much could still happen.
Oh my god, isn't that crazy? Yeah, we need more. As a newbie, I need more, and I'm not even done. I just know it ends here, and it shouldn't. Well, I guess we have The Cursed Child, but that's not even a full book, it's just a play, which is insane. You'd think she'd make a book because then, well, I guess she doesn't need any more money. But if she did make it into a book, people would snatch that up so quick.
Oh, yeah.
The plot's already there. You just turned it into more words on a page, which is so crazy.
Right. That was such a dive into Deathly Hallows. We know that we barely scratched the surface of everything in this book, but it was so fun to break down some of the biggest moments and themes. This book really ties up so many storylines and hits you right in the feels.
Thanks so much for listening and sticking with us through the whole Harry Potter journey. For our final Harry Potter episode, we're teaming up with another podcast for an epic collab all about everything Harry Potter. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, so if you like this episode, please take a second to rate us 5 stars wherever you listen. It really helps us out and keeps the podcast going. Thank you so much for listening, and we can't wait to dive deeper into the series with you next time.
You can expect a podcast episode from us every Thursday. See you next time. Bye. Wow, we did it! Harry Potter.
Crazy.